It wasn't an elimination game, but Sunday's showdown between the Broncos and Bengals was the meaningful matchup in December that Broncos Country had been waiting for since 2015. A win would keep their playoff hopes alive, while a loss would have them on life support. While Denver's defense contained Cincinnati's high-powered offense to just one third-down conversion and less than 100 yards in the first half, the Bengals' defense also kept the Broncos from finding any kind of rhythm. Drew Lock provided an impressive spark on his first drive of the game after Teddy Bridgewater went down, but unfortunately, Lock's fumble at the Bengals' 9-yard line early in the fourth quarter proved costly, as the Broncos never crossed into Bengals territory again. Here's a look back at Denver's Week 15 loss to Cincinnati.
Welcome to Empower Field at Mile High as we are set for a big AFC matchup today as the Denver Broncos play host to the Cincinnati Bengals. Both teams coming into this afternoon's game with a 7-6 record. The winner today will still be alive mathematically in the AFC playoff race. The loser still alive, but for all intents and purposes will be out of the mix.
The Bengals gunslinger quarterback Joe Burrow, the way to beat him is to put pressure on him. He is 2-11-1 when opposing teams sack him 3 or more times in a game.
Burrow under center takes the snap, boots, and is going to be hit by Justin Simmons, and the sack all the way back to the 21-yard line. Bridgewater under center, rolls to his right, and now this dumps in the flat. Okwegwunup jumps right over a Bengal, and he's got a first down.
Eli Apple looked like a human hurdle. Albert O went right over him.
Bridgewater in the gun, play fake, throws the ball, loads it up, home run ball down the sideline. That ball is into and out of the hands of Cortland Sutton, incomplete in the end zone.
Shotgun for Bridgewater, protection breaks down, Bridgewater tossed down.
Crowd very much into this game.
They should be into it. Got a good one going here.
Drew is under center, hands it off, running right side, and a big hole for Javonte Williams. Williams out of the 45, that's a gain of 14. Four-man rush. Burrow, things start to break down. Burrow in trouble. He's grabbed. He goes down inside the 35-yard line.
The Broncos have been much better in the red zone the last 3 weeks. They're 4th in the NFL in their red zone. They have to convert here.
Locke kept the ball, tried to get away, and they took the ball out of his hands. The big defensive end just reached up with his left hand and took the ball away. And it is over here at Empower Field at Mile High.
Well, it was a close game throughout, but the Broncos were not able to come up with a big play on either side of the ball to best Burrow and the Bengals. So Ryan Harris joins me now to highlight what the Broncos needed to do more of throughout the game and what they need to avoid moving forward. So first, something we don't see all that often, Justin Simmons pulling down a quarterback, and he did it twice for his first multi-sack game. The first one of the day came early in the second quarter. It's 2nd and 4, and it is for a huge loss, Ryan.
And it happens on a green dog. That means when a defender thinks it's a run but gets caught in no man's land, go after the quarterback. That's the green dog. And with the motion on the beginning of the snap, you're going to see this receiver move in. That's going to bring Justin Simmons down because he knows, hey, we got 2 defenders here for 2 pass catchers. Now, at the snap, it looks like a run, so he fills in that gap to make sure there's no cutback. But luckily, he realizes it's a play-action pass because otherwise there's a wide open player for the Bengals. This tight end's going to come right here. But because Justin Simmons takes advantage of his aggressiveness in the green dog, he goes and gets the sack. So with the motion coming in, here comes Justin Simmons to fill, and the snap of the ball. This happens fast, so all of a sudden he snaps. Oh, it's a run. I'm going to get there. Nope. And then bam, making the sack, and make sure you get the quarterback down. That's the huge point of it. A lot of times you see safeties or corners getting to the quarterback, and it's like they don't know what to do. But Justin Simmons finishes for the Broncos.
Well, a loss of 11 yards on the play for the Bengals. Simmons with another loss of 4 yards in the fourth quarter, making him just the 6th Broncos safety to record a multi-sack game since that stat started being recorded back in 1982. A little history lesson.
Deep pull, I like it.
As for something else we'd love to see more of here down the stretch, wide receivers making big plays in the end zone, and this Tim Patrick Patrick grab was an absolute beauty.
And Drew Lock really diagnoses man coverage. He sees a single high safety, and we know from the time what we've been doing here this season, anytime that other safety is down, something's happening. Now, what I love is that Tim Patrick, that ball is going to be inside. Typically, you want to put that ball outside.
Right.
But Tim Patrick is going to go and get that ball and get the touchdown. A little nuance here for film. Watch this guy tell on himself as well. Right before the play, he's going to point to the corner like, hey, you're alone. You know that? And that's another key for the quarterback to pick up that it's man coverage and that throw is there. So as the play develops here, you're going to see that safety walk down. Oh, he's going to check to his guy. Hey, you're alone. Oh, thanks for telling us. And then all of a sudden, Drew Lock steps back, sees it. But here's where the magic happens. Tim Patrick comes inside, grabs it away from the defender, and that was all Tim Patrick making that play happen.
Well, that was Denver's first touchdown by a wideout since Patrick came up with another huge catch in Dallas Week 9. But now something we hate to see. It's already second and forever for the Denver Broncos, but then Drew Lock, he takes a 9-yard sack to just put the nail in the coffin.
And this is a repeated mistake on Drew Lock's part. That's one of the things that frustrates coaches the most in the NFL. I had one coach tell me, hey, either you're not listening or it doesn't matter to you. Either way, it's a problem. And the problem here is this is the line of scrimmage right there about the 14-yard line, call it the 15, and the sack happens at that 10-yard line. Now, why that's an issue is because if you're the defensive end right here, this is a pretty straight line if you have to get to 10 yards. Versus if Drew Lock steps up in the pocket, well, now you have to find your way in if you're a defensive end. So it really makes it more difficult. And also you'll see as this play develops, if Drew Lock steps up to the left, he has wide open passers to find his open receivers. So at the start of the ball, he gets it, he surveys the field, but this is where you step up. And if he does right here, he's got a wide open player, wide open. You got something in the making here. But because you take that sack so deep, you don't get up, you're not able to see it. And that really, as you mentioned, was the nail in the game for the Broncos.
Well, hopefully Drew Lock can learn from this play and some of the other mistakes that he made, given the fact that it sounds like he will be getting the start this Sunday in Las Vegas.
And I thought he showed great progress up until that fumble. So I like the Broncos with Drew Lock at quarterback.
Awesome, Ryan. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Always.
All right, well, coming up after the break, Ryan and the Denver 7 crew will discuss what's next for the Broncos with just 3 games left to play. But first, Denver's team photographer Gabriel Christis sent us a few of his best snaps from Sunday. Take a look. Back to Broncos Country Connected. Denver's loss to Cincinnati could prove to be detrimental as the Broncos' odds of ending their postseason drought has dropped to just 5%. But there's still a chance. With what the Broncos need to do throughout their final 3 games to stay in the chase and who they might need a little help from, here's Lionel Bienvenu, Troy Renck, and Ryan Harris.
Thanks, Alexis, and welcome to our Denver 7 segment brought to you by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. All right, guys, boy, how things change in the NFL on a week-to-week basis, huh? Last week, we were talking about the biggest game in 5 years, a playoff elimination game. And now this week, Ryan, we're talking about a devastating loss and a change in quarterback for the Broncos. As Teddy Bridgewater is in concussion protocol, all signs point towards Drew Lock starting next Sunday in Vegas.
Well, and the good news is Drew Lock had his best drive, I think, of his career as a Bronco. The first drive where he threw a touchdown pass to Tim Patrick. Granted, Troy will tell you that pass was inside a little bit. Tim Patrick made a play, but he showed he was throwing with anticipation to Albert O, and that he really had prepared to go into the game if he needed to. I also like that he said, I learned that, hey, a lot of great quarterbacks, they can push the ball downfield, but you got to let your teammates carry you. He should have handed the ball off to Javonte Williams. Without that mistake, I think the Broncos win, and we're having a very different discussion about Drew Lock. So I like his chances moving forward.
Gosh, one play.
Just one.
Makes a difference. Troy, Drew, as Ryan mentioned, showed some flashes, and he always does. Threw the TD pass to Patrick to take the lead. Had the team at the Bengals' 9-yard line again to take the lead again, but then that big turnover happened. As he said after the game, interceptions, fumbles, he knows he just can't do that and be considered a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Well, he just can't help himself at times. He's like that shooter that you've got to lay up, but man, the three-point line, it's open. And sometimes he just cannot resist the temptation to try to do too much because he knows this. He's finally seemed to come to the realization ball security is job security in the NFL. Drew Lock needs to show against Vegas he can take care of the ball first and foremost, Lionel.
Was that Brock Osweiler that said that?
Yes,
he was right about that.
Go.
That's for sure. All right, Ryan, this defense, the last 4 games, gave up 13 points to the Chargers, 16 to the Chiefs, 10 to the Lions, 15 to the Bengals. They're 3rd in the NFL in points allowed. They are definitely doing their part on the defensive side of the ball.
Absolutely. Justin Simmons has been fantastic. Kareem Jackson as well. And there's been a little bit of pass rush there from your Denver Broncos. So they are performing at a level defensively where you should be on a win streak right now. Unfortunately, offensively, that's preventing them from getting the W.
I don't want to mention the Broncos' chances of making the playoffs, but it's like 3, 4, 5% something there. But look, as long as there's a chance, you keep going, right? Nobody in the Broncos can throw in the towel now.
No, you can't throw in the towel. That's how people get hurt and injured. And the other thing, too, if you have to say you're mathematically eligible, you may not be realistically eligible. But that doesn't mean you can't beat a division foe in the Raiders. That's where your entire focus is if you're the Denver Broncos, and that's where you start to right the ship.
All right, we've seen stranger things happen, like 2011 with Tim Tebow. Remember that run?
Yeah.
So this is now a 3-game season. You got to win out and get some help. But, Troy, the offense has to be better. Now with Drew Lock at quarterback, can we look for more from Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and Jerry Jeudy?
Well, one of the things going in their favor, they don't play the AFC North anymore. They went 0-4 against them. So that's out. Things are going in the right direction. Yes, you're going to see more of a vertical passing attack. Jerry Jeudy at some point has got to score a touchdown. I think it'll be this week against the Raiders. And the one thing I liked about Drew Lock, and Ryan mentioned it, you've got to at some point give your receivers a chance to make a play even when covered. Now, you can do that strategically without turning it over, but you've got to give Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick enough chances so they can make big plays. I think we're going to see more of that against the Raiders.
All righty then, here we go. Ryan, the rivalry continues Sunday in Vegas. Broncos, Raiders, both teams, well, fighting off elimination. This is like Squid Game. You lose and you're done. What do the Broncos have to do to beat the Raiders on Sunday?
1, you got to run the football. Number 2, get 2 turnovers. That's the magic numbers for this Broncos defense. You have to take it to the Raiders, but also offensively, Pat Shurmur, please put in hot routes against the blitz and 3rd down. That affected the Broncos, has affected them all year. There are wide open receivers that they turn around. So run the football, get some turnovers, and give your receivers an option when blitzers come so they can get open and hit the big play.
Troy, keys to the game in Vegas.
You got to block on pass protection. The Raiders will get after you up front. And as Ryan said, you've got to get the run game going to create balance, to get big strikes and play action. But if you can't take care of the ball, you can't win that game. So you've got to take care of the ball first, then take chances strategically.
All right, thanks, guys. Right now it's time to take you behind the face mask and introduce you to one of the Broncos players and what makes them unique off the field. This week it's Lloyd Cushenberry. Go Tigers! The second-year player out of LSU. Playing center in the NFL was never the plan for him. But as Nick Rothschild shows us, his special skill set makes him the anchor for this offensive line.
Growing up, Lloyd Cushenberry lived life like many other kids.
Our childhood was mostly just sports.
Sports and video games.
My cousin had all of them. We would go to his house all the time, just play just all night.
Sneaking away to his cousin's house to play clandestine Call of Duty.
Yeah, Mom wouldn't let us get those shooting games. We had to go to our cousins to play GTA or Call of Duty.
When LC wasn't poning noobs, he found his first love.
I love basketball.
And he was pretty good, too.
I don't want to brag, sound like I'm bragging, but I can do it all, to be honest. I was a shooter, mainly. If I can handle the ball, even at my size, I can handle it.
Eventually, he outgrew the basketball court, but the skills never left.
As a center, you kind of I see it as you're the point guard out there, so you're getting everybody on the same page, communicating, and that's the same thing, in basketball. When you coming up the court with the rock, making sure everybody's at the right spot. So I compare center to point guard.
Could you dunk in eighth grade?
Oh, not in 8th grade. Now I can. Not in 8th grade at all.
But you can dunk right now.
Yeah.
Do people doubt you when you tell them that?
A lot. We had a discussion maybe 2 weeks ago in the locker room about which O-lineman couldn't dunk. A lot of people were saying me. I was like, come on. I might have to show him one day.
Who was like the loudest voice on Cush can't dunk? Who was leading that charge?
Muti. Yeah. Because I don't think he can dunk, so he was just trying to say I couldn't dunk.
Life comes full circle. Cushenberry has 6 nephews and nieces.
I'm like a kid when I'm around them. They're another guy just to play with, play video games, run around.
Now he's the fun family member with the cool video games.
Well, coming up after the break, learn how one Denver Broncos cheerleader is balancing her hectic rehearsal schedule with her class schedule, an effort to accomplish 2 very different goals.
Broncos Country Connected is presented by Carpet Mill Outlets. Bigger discounts, better selections.
Welcome back to this final segment of Broncos Country Connected, presented by Ford. Some girls dream of becoming a Denver Broncos cheerleader. Some dream of going to medical school and becoming a doctor. And one girl is chasing her dream of becoming both. Michaela is in her 3rd season as a Denver Broncos cheerleader and her 1st year of medical school. And she sought out to prove when your heart pulls you in different directions, you don't have to choose just one.
A typical day as a Denver Broncos cheerleader and a medical student is jam-packed, and I prefer it that way. I wake up very early and I start my classes, usually at 8 a.m. sharp. It just depends on the day, and I'll have a full day of lectures, and then I'll have a lab in the afternoon, and then from there I will leave my campus and I'll go right to the stadium and I'll get ready to practice until 10:30 or 11, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm exhausted by the end of the night, but I wake up the next day ready to get after it again. My grandfather is a family physician, and he was really inspiring to me when I was young even. I was exposed to all the great work that he does, and I thought to myself, I have to do this. It's just in me.
Michaela, she was, even at a young age, a force of nature. She had a tremendous amount of enthusiasm and passion for anything she did. Confident, whatever she was going to do, she was going to succeed in. When she was in high school, she came to work in our office, and I think she saw how a clinical practice worked, and then she started seeing patients with me. And when she saw the clinical part of it, I think it sort of, put a light in her head about medicine. She knew how to sacrifice, because when you dance 4 or 5 hours a day, that's a tremendous sacrifice.
Although they're different, I love dance and I love science, and they're both a part of me. So it keeps me grounded and sane, and it really improves my memory and my health too, to be able to exercise and interact with my teammates. My teammates are so supportive, my classmates are so supportive, and overall, they coexist beautifully.
I think the main thing is having sympathy and empathy and caring about people. To be in healthcare, it's the ultimate in human service. And if you don't care about people, you're in the wrong field. She has a tremendous amount of compassion for people. And I think that combination with her smarts, intelligence, and everything else makes it a perfect fit.
My family's very close, and so I was exposed to some health issues that my Nana had, and that gave me a different kind of motivation. I think I always saw the glamorized part of medicine, the white coat, the stethoscope, how amazing it would be to go out there and change lives and help people, but to do it for my own family member was a different part of the puzzle that really filled my heart with a new kind of motivation, and I knew there's nothing else I want to do. I think if I could share anything with aspiring dancers, aspiring student physicians, or anything that you want to search for in life, it would be willing to work as hard as you can. And if you can just wake up each morning with gratitude, then it won't feel like a burden, it will feel like a blessing. And I remind myself, when I'm tired, I look back at old photos when I was preparing for Broncos auditions, preparing to be a medical student, how badly I wanted this. And now I'm in this position where I've achieved these things and I'm still working hard, and it gives me a lot of motivation. So don't forget to be grateful and do the extra work because it counts. The details matter. And if you can push yourself, you can do anything. You really can. You don't have to pick one dream, you can do two.
Well, that's all the time we have for Broncos Country Connected. From all of us here with the Denver Broncos and Denver 7, have a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Broncos Country Connected is brought to you by Ford Trucks. Built better, built stronger, built Ford tough.